Pop, Danny Limelight, United Wrestling Network World Heavyweight Champion. And make sure you tune into the Alliance vlog every week. You heard it here first. Straight from Pop.
That there are some people in this world that did not tune in to the Alliance Vlog podcast. Shame on you!
Shame on you. My name is Ella Indy, and I'm one half of the NWA Women's World Tag Team Champion.
And I'm Kitty Page, the other half of the NWA World Women's Tag Team Champion.
And you better go listen to the Alliance Vlog, what is it called again?
Podcast, period.
Or you're ugly. Pretty and Power approved. All right.
Hey guys, check this out. I am officially now sponsored by Dubby. Dubby is a clean energy drink made to give you focus with no crash. If you guys are like me, you're always needing a burst of energy, especially with one with no crash. Dubby contains vitamins, amino acids, a nootropic, and 150 milligrams of caffeine. It keeps me awake with no jitters, guys. Check it out. Merch link is in the bio. Dubby.
Are you ready?
Power. You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
I'm building an alliance. God bless the internet. Okay, let's party.
It's showtime.
It's time for the Alliance Guys podcast with your hosts Kevin Frazier, Jaden, DKM, and J. Cal.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Alliance Guys podcast, a presentation of alliance-wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. My name is J. Cal, and with me is none other than DKM. Welcome to the show, pal. How are you?
Good. I'm checking out this new site about the NWA. And oh no, just kidding. Just a joke.
You said a nude site?
New.
Oh. All right. What's it called? Alliance-wrestling.com?
Sure, that works for me.
So what's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. We have a little bit different of a episode for you guys today because, of course, there was no episode of Power this week, and I'm actually, DK, you and I were talking offline. There was basically like a podcast episode, and it was Billy sitting down with Austin Idol, and they were breaking kayfabe. They were talking some history, memories, and all of that with Austin Idol's career in the world of professional wrestling, dating back to his time starting in Florida and New York and working with Dusty. And I found the episode extremely fascinating. I thought that was a great program that the NWA has produced. Probably the best thing Billy has done since, he's been kind of the sole proprietor here of the NWA. What did you think, DKM? I know you said you didn't watch it all, but what did you think of what you did see?
Better than any of the wrestling they've put out recently. Unfortunately, that's kind of a low bar. I've seen a lot of people really liked it, and I can't say I'm in that boat.
Okay.
I can say I thought it was good for what it was.
All right.
And it was one of the few times where I could listen to Austin Idol as long as I did and only get slightly annoyed instead of fully annoyed.
Well, he wasn't over the top like he normally was. It was a pretty muted Austin Idol, and I felt like that was probably the most real version of Austin Idol we've ever had.
Yeah, and I think it is. And of course, we were talking about his favorite topic.
That's a good point.
Yeah, and Idol's in the wrestling world is very good at getting himself over.
Of course, yeah.
Unfortunately, that's no longer his job to get himself over. His job is to get the product and the guys he's managing over, and he has mixed success with that. But just to sit down and listen to him talk. And, of course, he has some early NWA history in Georgia and Florida and even Mid-Atlantic and stuff like that. And, he was wrestling Ric Flair before anybody really knew or cared who Ric Flair was.
Woo, yeah.
And so, that's it. It was interesting to hear the stories. For somebody like me, this probably could have been like a 20-minute show.
Okay.
Let's go back. Let's hit the highlights of your career, and then, and this is partly because it's Austin Idol, and I didn't watch him a lot and don't know a lot about him. I mean, I do remember seeing him in the 80s. I just remember he annoyed me back then. And so I suppose if you were part of the Memphis crew and you grew up and he was a major part of your wrestling history, you probably enjoyed it a lot more than I did.
So, and I think maybe that's why I enjoyed it as much as I did, because I wasn't familiar with that time. I wasn't familiar with his work in I've seen like bits and pieces, but like predominantly Austin Idol was already done wrestling by the time I was aware of who he was. So to kind of get that backstory, I thought was really cool. And it kind of, again, put a spotlight on somebody I didn't really know a whole lot about. I knew Idol from his time in the Continental and stuff like that, but I wasn't very familiar with how he broke into the business. I wasn't very familiar with I didn't know about his partnership with Dusty for the short time, or what the work he was doing up in New York. So all of that was kind of new information for me. But the thing I kept thinking as I was watching it is, there's been so many legends that have stepped through the NWA ring in this Lightning One era. And I'm talking about, we had Dory Funk Jr. Make appearances. We've had, we had Jeff Jarrett make appearances. We've had Barry Windham, James J. Dillon. We've had
Tommy Rich.
So Wildfire Tommy Rich, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, Ric Flair. And I'm just thinking to myself, man, this is such to me, and maybe we disagree on this, and that's okay. I think this is a great program, a great thing to continue doing. In addition to Power and Surge and USA and everything else, this to me is very organic programming. And maybe this could replace a Power Surge or a USA Surge on a more regular basis. But you've had so many big talents, big name guys already come through that door. I think it's a missed opportunity that they haven't been doing this before. But with any luck, maybe they'll continue to do these, and maybe we'll see some of the guys. As we're talking, I'm like, oh, Ricky Morton. We had Jim Cornette. We had the Midnight Express, both Bobby, Dennis, and I think they even had Stan Lane appear at one point. Then we also had Magnum TA, so there's so many great talents that have, legends that have been a part of the NWA. Oh, God, I feel like it's such a missed opportunity.
I could handle seeing it like once a month, either in replacement or in addition to their normal programming. But I will say you might, if you're going to do this continuously, you might need a mix of your bigger legends and, no offense to Idol, but he's not the biggest, but maybe your bigger legends, and then almost in a reverse thing, maybe some of the people who are wrestling now. I mean, I think that type of thing would go well for Trevor Murdoch.
Oh, yeah.
And talk about, coming up through Harley Race's training program and his time in WWE, because I think it was already E by the time he was there. And it's just, I think it could be of value. I mean, look, you could even look at somebody like, your best friends, the NWA World Women's Tag Team Champions.
Yeah.
And, they're newer to the thing, stuff like that. Who are your inspirations? What you got,
The art of the shoot interview, right? The shoot videos that, I mean, if some of us will jump back in the time machine, remember when before Ring of Honor was a thing, I forgot his name, Rob, what's his name? The person that founded
I know
Ring
you're
of Honor.
talking about, but I don't know his name.
Yeah, the person who founded Ring of Honor literally started with shoot interviews, and they would bring in talent to do these shoot interviews, and those shoot interviews basically funded the beginning of Ring of Honor, I think, unless
Yeah, he was a DVD guy.
Yeah, and I'm saying that I don't need necessarily shoot interviews. Like I don't want to hear Ric Flair taking a shit on everybody, but I would like to hear if you had some of these more legendary wrestlers and some of these more well-known names in the WWE doing these interviews, not only are you creating content for the NWA and the NWA fans, there it is, Rob Feinstein, Mike and Jeremy both pointed that out. Rob Feinstein, I'll pretend you said she was 18. You guys know about Rob, you know what that's about. I'm not gonna say anything more about that. But
there's a reason he wasn't involved in ROH after so long.
But to the point, I think there's value in that kind of content, and I think if they continue to produce content like that, so like you kind of a hybrid of what you said and a hybrid of what they're doing, just having these interviews where it's a person face to face, and I think it's important to have Billy Corgan be the one doing it, because then it's kind of a different take. It's not the guy who proclaims to be a journalist doing the interview or somebody like Gary Horn. It's freaking the lead singer of Smashing Pumpkins.
Hey,
where
what are you trying to say there, Jay? Or somebody like or somebody like Gary Horn. You saying Gary Horn's not a journalist, Jay?
No. Well, Gary, okay, so full disclosure, you guys know Gary works for the NWA. I mean, it's not an outsider. It's not somebody who's working within. It's the actual owner. And on top of that, I mean, he's a rock star. So you're getting a different slant on that kind of an interview. I really think that I think there's could be a market for that. And like I said, it's creating value. Like they're creating this library, at some, who said it? I heard somebody say it today. Might have been Bully Ray Dudley. Might have been Dave LaGreca from Busted Open. But they said, the library is really where the value is with the WWE, because everybody's trying to create content and get content. And I think with the limited, the NWA over the last 5 years has created a lot of content. But something like those interviews is like an evergreen content. It's always going to have somebody can always be interested in watching a video like that. I think it's a really good way to go, and I hope they continue doing it. That's what I'm basically saying.
Tell me how you really feel.
I really feel like this was the best thing that Billy has done, where he showed his face in the NWA. Look.
Now that I 100% agree with.
I don't need to see Billy Corgan arguing with Wrecking Ball Legursky about taking this new and improved U.S. championship. But if I've got Billy Corgan, the pro wrestling fan, sitting there talking about the nostalgia, talking about wrestling's past with a talent like Austin Idol, or maybe they could get somebody like a Tully Blanchard or an Arn Anderson, or, look, I know a lot of these guys are under contract with rival wrestling organizations, and it doesn't necessarily need to be Arn Anderson, but maybe it could be somebody like a Tully Blanchard or a Magnum TA or an Iron Sheik, just somebody that we maybe don't get a lot of FaceTime with.
I don't think Iron Sheik would work.
Oh,
I think he would demonetize his video so much he'd probably lose the last 5 years of income on NWA.
Maybe. Kikuchi says there's a difference between creating content and creating good content. And Kikuchi, you are correct. I think this is good content. If you guys haven't seen it yet, go watch it. Make up your own mind. And come back here next week and tell me I'm a moron. That's fine. I'll take it. But I really felt.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. They could come back and tell you you're a moron and have nothing to do with the show.
This is true. I mean, look, DKM is not a liar. DKM is a lot of things, but he's not a liar.
Very true.
Mike says, I'll admit Billy needs to show his role. It was if he was trying to outmark or outstar Idol in the video. I did kind of feel a little bit of that too. Mike, I did, because I felt like there was like he would kind of direct the interview, but like on camera, and it's like, hey, maybe don't direct the person while you're interviewing them. Maybe you cut that up later. That you've got a director, you've got a producer, you've got guys who are capable of chopping that up to make it cleaner. I don't feel like you need to have that, but like again, how hard would it be to just while everyone's doing the meet and greets or pre-production or post-production, just putting Billy in a room with somebody and a camera and letting them talk some wrestling from the 70s, 60s, 80s, 90s, 2000s. I mean, hell, I would love to hear Billy, right, talk to somebody like Dan Severn about what was it like being NWA World Champion when nobody even knew that the NWA was still around.
Very true. And I think, to the criticisms of Billy, I agree with a lot of them, but I am going to cut him this small amount of slack. And that is, I think this is kind of the first time he's really doing anything like this, and it takes a while for everybody to get comfortable.
Yeah.
I mean, not to bleed over another interest, but when a certain member of a certain royal family who currently live in California started doing a podcast about women's names and stuff like that, one of the first people she had on was Serena Williams, and her and Serena are friends, but it was almost like that was to the detriment because she had a tendency to talk over her and start doing anything. By the time she got to her 8th or whatever one, she was pretty well into the interviewing thing.
Yeah.
and not the gabbing. The first few were kind of just gab sessions. And so, to Billy's credit, I think if he would do this long enough, then at some point, he would probably fit into the interview role as opposed to director, producer, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, and it is, you're right. Like, look, if you handed Billy a guitar and asked him to play a song for you, he's going to do that no problem. You're asking him to do to be an interviewer, which is something that, as of now, we don't really know that that's something that he even has a skill set for. And if anyone who's followed this podcast for a long enough time, there's an evolution process, and I wouldn't even say I'm good at it right now, but man, DKM, you were part of some of those awful interviews that we did 10 years ago. And it's not an easy art. It's being comfortable in front of the camera is beneficial, but even then, some of our interviews weren't even on camera. So I will cut Billy some credit, cut him some slack on that. But where you and I differ, I think I really enjoyed it, and I thought he did a great job, and I'm ready for more. I hope that it, like we said, I hope it's something that continues to go forward. And that's and guys, look at that. 21 minutes into the 12th day of 2023, and your boy Jay just said that Billy Corgan did something right. How about that?
Hey, what's the deal? You told me you had a good camera and batteries now.
I do. So just give me a second, because one of them died, and now I put the new one in. It's simple. Oh, except for that one hit the ground. Let's get that in. I'm here. It's all good. It's all good.
I thought we were going to make it through the show without the battery thing. I know if Jaden is watching from his sickbed that
Nobody looks
that,
good.
that he's happy because he liked it when you blacked out. Or at least I think that's how he meant it. But anyway, so
Kikuchi just asked, how long did it take for you guys to get into the groove? And Kikuchi, we're still looking for it.
I was going to say, how many years have we been doing this?
By the way, it is when you guys ask questions here in the chat and we put them up on the screen, you'll see me respond a lot too, because it actually helps our algorithm if we respond both in the chat and on the video. So you'll see me a little bit more regularly now, kind of chat in the window as well as on the camera, because it's good for algorithm business. So
I'll get that rhythmed.
yeah, I did the algorithm once and I haven't. The rhythm got me. The rhythm got me.
I'm hanging out with Gloria Stefan again. Oh, anyway, so we had a good show of Billy talking to people, talking to Austin Idol. Anything you learned in particular from that episode that just made you go, wow, man, that is amazing or incredible, or I never knew, or Bob's uncle?
So I didn't learn anything about my uncle, but I didn't realize how much Idol. First of all, I didn't know that he was severely injured in the plane crash. I didn't know. Honestly, I didn't know that there was a second plane crash, because whenever you talk about the Mid-Atlantic area and a plane crash, everyone thinks about Ric Flair and Johnny Valentine and all that. I didn't know there was an additional or a plane crash even earlier. It kind of makes me think, what the hell are these guys doing chartering these airplanes? They don't belong in the sky. They just drive, man. I didn't know that. I didn't know that there was I didn't know Idol had spent time working with Dusty Rhodes. But like I said, I'm not the biggest Austin Idol fan and never have been. So I really didn't know much of his background anyways. He says that he was very clean when it comes to his lifting and workout regiment, that he never did steroids. And I don't know if that's true or not. And I'm not going to call the guy a liar, but the fact of the matter is that he's still around, and a lot of his contemporaries that did use steroids are gone. Makes me think that there might be some truth to that.
Yeah, and if you ever look at him back in the day, he was never Mr. Universe. I mean, he was muscled and solid, but he was never, a Mr. Universe pose and that type of thing. Although he did. And, oh, look, Jay held up a Dubby bottle. That's because Dubby is one of our sponsors.
They're our only sponsor.
Shh. They are one of our sponsors. And you can rush out to their site now and get you some.
Well, we technically we do have a secondary sponsor. I mean, I can talk about this, right? I mean, we sell T-shirts. I don't know if you guys know that. We actually sell a lot of T-shirts. And if you guys want to, look, I've never asked you guys to spend your money on anything for the Alliance blog, for our podcast, or anything else. If you would like to help support, I mean, you can. We have shirts, we have tumblers, we have fanny packs. One of my personal favorites is the mug. I kind of think we have a merch group forming called the Mug Club, because if you don't have the mug, I don't know if you're really a part of what's going on here. But we also have beanies, sweaters, hats, and I'm going to be trying to introduce a little bit more new merchandise here soon. You can see this new Alliance hat that I'm focusing on right here. And then also we have this Alliance shirt. This is the Alliance Guys shirt. Everyone who has been called an Alliance guy on one T-shirt. Can you believe it? I can. And you know what? That's not even the original logo that I was going to use. All right, that's cool. I just realized that Oh my gosh. Anyways, so yeah, there it is.
So he doesn't even know what kind of logos he uses. That's good. That's good to know.
Yeah. Jesus. I literally was on the road to Arizona yesterday at this time.
Road again.
At this time I was already in Arizona, but then I drove home today, and then I drive back tomorrow, and I'll be there till Monday. So, it's going to be a good time.
I'm pretty sure that's called being foolish.
Full of something. Kakushi's got some jokes here for Tyrus. Let's get some Tyrus jokes. I've seen a few of them pop up here. First of all, Willie Bowen says that Niagara Falls is Tyrus's private shower. Kakushi says Tyrus is so fat it took me 2 buses and a train to get to his good side.
I like that.
Tyrus is so fat I swerved to miss him in my car and ran out of gas. That was good. That one popped me. And Jeremy is voting for the Alliance banana hammocks. No.
Why not?
As a joke, I made, so at one point they had bikinis. So as a joke, I made a bikini for my wife, and then I made her wear it when we were in Cabo San Lucas. So there's one official Alliance bikini in existence, but then they since have taken that option away. So now there are no more Alliance bikinis.
I thought somebody on one of the streams wanted one.
Poyo mentioned something about having one. Oh, you know who Fiona said she would wear one, but they don't make it anymore. There's one pieces, but what's the fun in a one piece?
No, we need a bikini. Why did they stop making them?
I don't know. Our pal Tim says Tyrus is so fat he was invaded by a small militia and now he's the People's Republican. That was good. I like that. Willie with another one. In Oregon, they made an ice statue of Tyrus. It melted, and now it's the Pacific Ocean.
Hey, Kakushi wants to know where that worthless bastard Jaden is on the shirt.
He's on the shirt. Well, because none of us actually know what Jaden looked like, we couldn't actually put a shirt up.
I sent you a picture.
Yeah, well, I don't know if that was him or not, and that could be slander.
I thought it looked better than him.
Yeah. Oh man.
Is there an eagle on the shirt?
There is.
That's Jaden. Jaden, we don't know how to tell you all this. Jaden's not a real person. That's an eagle. He's an eagle.
Yeah, there it is right there. That's next to Jay. The top row, you've got Tim, Lamb, and DKM. That's Chris. Chris and Lamb have not really appeared on the Alliance Guys podcast, but they're the ones contributing right now, mostly to the website. So you'll see a lot of their articles are going up. Lamb does a great job of covering Southern California wrestling, which is pretty awesome considering that he lives in Germany. And then Chris lives in the UK, but he's been posting a lot of content related to the NWA and Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. So, and then, of course, then you see me next to our buddy, the Eagle, and then Jeremy, Kevin Frazier, and Dave Scooby.
Did you post the link in the
I did not. I did not.
I mean, it's in the description, but there's nothing better than actually having it in the chat.
You know what? That's a good point. And again, guys, I'm not asking anyone to buy a t-shirt, right? I'm not asking you guys to put your money up for anything. If you want one, we have some. And, feel free to take a look. Maybe you want a sweater. Maybe you want a t-shirt or a ball cap or a beanie. We've got you covered. But again, if it's too much of a financial hardship or you just don't want to, no hard feelings at all. With that being said, and I saw Poyo do this. I was actually a part of Poyo's. I wasn't a part of it. I was just there. I watched Poyo last night on her live stream, and she was inviting people to join her Discord. So real quick, and I'm sorry, I'm sounding like an idiot right now because I'm just trying to stall to figure out how do I get to invite people. So give me just a second, and I'm going to put that link here. DK, you talk for a second.
A second. So anyway, there I was, minding my own business like I always do. And he comes up and starts yelling at me like it's my fault. But I figure, hey, you know, I'm young, I'm good looking, I got that going for me. I did as I normally do and ignored her. So, and then there was this time I met this guy named Jay who didn't know how to invite people to his Discord server, which I thought was quite embarrassing because, you know, everybody who has a Discord server knows how to invite someone to it. And then there was also this time that I used to watch wrestling, pro wrestling. And then some moron turned it into sports entertainment and then got fired from his own company for paying off women he was having sex with, and then took his own company over again. So, because, you know, he was the largest shareholder, and now there's talk that he may be selling it to the most moral regime of Saudi Arabia. And, you know, the fact that there are actually places out there that won't do business with anybody that's owned by Saudi Arabia things, you know, quite irrelevant. And then Jay put his shoulders back. Did Jay ever get it posted?
Yeah, it's posted, but I was going to just let you go for as long as you wanted.
Damn well about time, let me tell you. So Jay, not to change gears, but to change gears.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on all the happenings in WWE? Because, you know, let's be honest, what happens in WWE affects the rest of the wrestling world.
It does.
Or not.
It does. Whether we want to honestly acknowledge that or not, it does. Unfortunately, we are at a point in this time and space where it is the WWE's world, and we're all just living in it. Now, could AEW overcome the WWE? Maybe. But the WWE's been around since like the late 50s, early 60s, in some variation or whatnot, where, you know, AEW's been around since the last 4 years.
Yeah, so, yesterday or something like that.
Yeah, you know, I'm not saying that at some point they can't be overtaken, but right now this is the WWE's world. It just is. When people think of professional wrestling, unfortunately, they think of the World Wrestling Entertainment. And so the way the WWE goes, so does the way of professional wrestling. And there's always going to be alternatives. There's always going to be the independents. There's always going to be the smaller mom and pop shops who are trying to do things differently. But at the end of the day, what reputation the WWE has kind of just extrapolates to everything else. So I think if we end up losing Vince McMahon to, let me rephrase that. If the WWE ends up selling itself to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia or the Saudi Arabia Investment Company, whatever it is,
it's one and the same.
Yeah, I think that's problematic, and I think that it will be very difficult for wrestling to kind of shake the narrative that you know, that it is what it is. I'm really hoping that someone else will come in and buy it. I'm not, and I've had people tell me this on social media, on Twitter, like because you know, if you express an opinion on Twitter, 12 people want to argue your opinion on something. But someone stated to me like, oh, well, you know, they've already are invested in everything else that you're watching and doing and everything else. So why is this so different? And the reason to me is that it's different because I have options when it comes to professional wrestling. I don't look if my oil is coming from Saudi Arabia, which that's also, I don't even know if that's entirely accurate, but I don't have an option on that. I can only buy gas from the gas station that's, you know, in town. I can't, you know, decide that I'm only going to buy gasoline from US based companies. I can't decide if I'm only going to buy gasoline from, you know, gasoline stations based from the UK. I can only purchase what's available to me. But with wrestling, I have options. I don't have to watch the WWE for the most part. I mean, WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, those are the two pay-per-views I watch almost every year. But if it's owned by the Kingdom of Saudi, I'm not going to be watching those pay-per-views. I won't be really interested in keeping up with the WWE at all. And there's talks that there's potential walkouts by some of the talents. There's a lot of explosiveness that could happen with a ownership change for the WWE.
Yeah, a lot. And of course, well, the thing that
Wait, hold on, real quick before we go any further. Tyrus is so fat when he dances, the band skips.
Ha! I like that.
I did too. All right, go ahead.
The only advantage that there is for McMahon or anybody selling to the Saudis is, well, there'd be two. One, that give him the price he wants, basically. And the second is it would take the company private. So, you know, there are all these things that there'd be all these things that would go away because there wouldn't be any oversight anymore.
Yeah.
You know, nobody would care who was on the board of directors.
Nobody.
And, you know, there would be no trying to please stockholders and stuff like that. Well, for those who don't know, there's already a group of Class A stockholders that are suing Vince McMahon for forcing his way back on the board. Because because he always had a majority voters share things, there is a charter in place that's supposed to protect them from him just doing something like this. So we'll see if that goes anywhere. I doubt it, especially if the company sold. You know, a lot of people, I see Chris bringing it up, and a lot of people in other places have brought it up. Talked to a couple people offline about it. You know, selling to NBC Universal would be the best move and everything like that. Or the big, large entertainment conglomerates.
Paladin brought up the whole Tony and Shad Khan buying the WWE. I mean,
okay, here's the thing: Vince isn't going to sell to them.
No.
I mean, let's be honest. He's not going to sell to his competition. So, do they have the money that they could do it? Probably. I mean, I'm sure it'll take some financial backing, and stuff like that. But sure, I mean, they could probably do it, but it's not going to. Vince simply isn't going to. And, typically you buy things like that if you're kind of like Vince bought WCW or ECW, a bankruptcy sale, and WCW where he basically buying it for pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
But that gets me back to what I was talking about with some big media entertainment conglomerate. Really, if one of them would buy WWE would probably be gone in 10 to 15 years. Because the truth is, they're not going to leave it alone. They're not going to know what to do with it. And executives change. And at some point, you're going to end up with somebody like was in charge of the Turner stuff that goes, why do we have wrestling?
Yeah.
And, they're not going to run it as its own independent. Well, the reason WWE has been able to be successful and the reason they were able to beat WCW was because they were run by a company that knew what it was doing. And, Vince had an entire marketing department that was bigger than almost the executive staff of WCW wrestling. And, Turner marketing isn't going to just market WCW. They're marketing all sorts of different things. Same thing will happen wherever they go. At some point, it'll shrink. At some point, there will be somebody in charge who knows nothing about wrestling. They'll put, a movie studio head over it or something like that because it's entertainment, because that's what Vince has taught us. And then it'll just be like, it'll go away. Everybody was thrilled when Sinclair bought ROH because they wanted ROH so they could have a show to give to their stations and, everything. But then found out that, guess what? Sinclair, who has more money than Vince, they could buy WWE, but they didn't want to invest any money in ROH.
Can we, while we're sitting here talking about wrestling companies being purchased, can we talk about how Sinclair almost bought the NWA?
Yeah, because I don't think that's a well-known story. I think people know that it almost happened, but I don't think they know the story.
That was actually Sinclair wanted to buy the NWA before they wanted to buy Ring of Honor, and the Ring of Honor was their backup plan. I'm sure you probably know a little bit more about this than I do, DK, but I remember Robert Trowbridge talking about this. Like there was a concerted effort to buy the NWA outright, and the NWA owners didn't want to sell. But could you imagine? I'm not going to say that Sinclair owning the NWA would have changed the dynamic of where we're at today with the National Wrestling Alliance. But, with Ring of Honor, the thing about Ring of Honor is it had to be run a certain way for it to maintain that image of being Ring of Honor. But as we've learned from the NWA over the past 15 years with the three different majority owners of the brand, right? Whether it be the Pro Wrestling Organization or the International Wrestling Corporation, or now the Lightning One Era LLC, the NWA could have been anything, where Ring of Honor had to kind of stick to those roots. And I think it would have been a lot cheaper to do the NWA as opposed to trying to do Ring of Honor. And I just wonder, like, what do you think would have happened if Sinclair was successful in talking to the members to sell back before ownership changed hands between PWO and IWC?
Well, we would have gotten a Lightning One version in the sense that they simply would have owned it and produced a wrestling show, and probably gotten whatever wrestlers they could and that type of thing. They wouldn't have kept any type of territorial or licenses or any of the other things that were done.
Just like Billy.
Right. And I think it would have worked for them up through a good point if they had a good booker. And the thing was that they buying it from the Trowbridge Marquez era group, there wasn't an NWA booker. So who would they have brought in to do the booking?
The same person they brought in to do Ring of Honor for a while, and I think that would have been Jim Cornette.
Yes, that would have been interesting. And I think it could have worked for a while with Jim. But even when Cornette came in, he was brought in by Gary Silkin with the purpose of getting the company ready to be sold. And so, a lot of people don't realize how much Silkin was, Silkin lost money. The only reason ROH existed and was able to be sold to Sinclair was because Silkin was putting his own money into it and going broke. And when he reached the point he couldn't do that anymore, he brought in Jim Cornette to help him look at things. And, one of the first things Jim Cornette says, stop bringing in the Young Bucks from California, which is probably why there's been a bad relationship there for a long time. And it wasn't anything against the Young Bucks. He's like, you're paying a lot of money to bring these guys in.
And for a while there, if you think back to before this company was sold to Sinclair, there was a point in time where you had and this is Ring of Honor. You had Gabe Spolowski doing the booking, right? Then he was replaced essentially by Adam Pearce. I don't know if people know that Pearce was booking Ring of Honor there for a while when they were on HD Net, which is now Access TV. Adam Pearce was doing a lot of the booking for Ring of Honor while he was subsequently still the world champion in the NWA. Actually, he had lost the title to Blue Demon Jr. Blue Demon Jr. won the title in Mexico. Pierce took a basically sabbatical from wrestling in the NWA, was still doing some matches in Ring of Honor, and then took over booking for Ring of Honor for quite some time. And when he was eventually relieved of his duties in Ring of Honor, when he came back to the NWA, which I believe that was like his the fourth title reign that he had, I think, is when he came back, or maybe it might have been the third. I'm not entirely sure, but that's what if the NWA had been sold to Sinclair, I mean, that could have been easily the way that it worked, was from Jim Cornette to maybe eventually Adam Pearce. And, and at the whole time, too, you got to keep in mind, Dave Marquez had a very good working relationship with Ring of Honor. He might have been part of this whole NWA Sinclair type deal. You don't really know until you know, and things could have always kind of worked out differently. I do like what Luthez said, is that Sinclair would have definitely sold everything to Vince eventually. And hey, it's Pollo. What's up, Pollo? How you been?
Oh, we're always going at it. That's what makes life great. I don't know that they would have sold everything to Vince eventually. Obviously, ROH was up for sale more than once.
Yes.
A lot of people don't realize that. But ROH, from the time Sinclair owned it, it was up for sale about every 2 years. And it was just kept more quiet and more in the background, stuff like that. And they didn't feel the need to have to sell. It was just always, if they could get a good offer, they were willing to do it. Unfortunately, the pandemic, this is where we're talking about, we complain that the NWA shut down completely, while ROH didn't. And they went so bad, and Sinclair had financial troubles outside of ROH that it just no longer became feasible to keep them open. And so it's one of those. I love Pollo. Anyway, so it was one of those situations, and it would have been sold eventually. Would have been sold to Vince. I don't know. If you follow the thing, it would have been sold to Tony Khan.
Real quick, let me do a cheap plug for Pollo, because Pollo, I've watched it a couple times, and if you guys are part of this hashtag NWA fam, you might enjoy this as well. Pollo is literally watching Joe Kazana Promotions, Worldwide Wrestling. Pollo's doing watch-alongs where you can actually watch the Kazana Promotions out there in, I think, in Kingsport or near Kingsport, and they're doing she's doing the watch-alongs with fans, and they're discussing things. And the Kazana Promotions, if there was a territory system, would fit right in with the old NWA. I mean, it very much reminds me of the old Smoky Mountain NWA, kind of in line with even Tony Given's Smoky Mountain. I highly recommend you guys check that out. Pollo, give us a cheap plug. Well, when do you do your stream, Pollo? And obviously, Pollo will answer on her own. Okay, DK, I'm sorry. I just wanted to do that cheap plug because I really enjoyed that last night. It's the second time I've been around to watch it.
Yeah, and just to go to what Luthez is saying, he's like, well, he would have bought the NWA because he would have wanted the NWA. Vince didn't even know the NWA still existed when Jim Cornette brought him in. I doubt he knew they existed, whatever. And by the way, somebody who will remain nameless tried to sell the NWA to Vince, and Didn't happen. So now some of it was probably money being asked, but I'm just saying if he wanted it, he had the chance to buy it.
All right. Right now, DK, if they jettison Triple H, Stephanie's already gone from the WWE family. They kicked her out. She stepped out, whatever. If Triple H is asked to step down, if Triple H and Stephanie are no longer connected to the WWE, would you want them to take over the NWA or partner with Billy Corgan or somehow do something with the NWA?
Steph, no. H, maybe.
Wow.
Here's the thing. We talked about this offline. A lot of people are like, oh, they should go start their own promotions. Like, yeah, it's not that easy.
No, and you brought up a good point too when we talked about this offline. You mentioned like, hey, all the like really good talent right now, well, not all of them, but a good chunk of them are locked up elsewhere. It's not like if Triple H decides to go to work for the NWA and hey, Billy, let's do this partnership. It's not like he can just make a few phone calls and you've got all the people that he made in the WWE all of a sudden available to the NWA. That's not how it works.
Right. And it was boy, I had a thought, and did it go running out of my mind as quickly as possible? But yeah, I mean, just there's only so much talent. There's only so much time. We've talked about
that made me laugh. Nicely done, Lou.
My royalty world just collided with my wrestling world. But anyway, did you put up Pollo's statement? I'll let you read that since.
Okay. So again, you guys, it's really more for you guys that are on Twitch, and I recommend all of you who are out here on YouTube to get Twitch too, because there's a lot of great content on there. I plan to be doing some more stuff exclusively on Twitch. I'll eventually stream it back to YouTube as well, but a lot of live content. I think I might start doing some stuff that's exclusive to Twitch. But anyways, Pollo says we stream various nights of the week. Hard to keep such a set schedule with her touring, but we have such a great group of viewers. Folks would be so warmly welcome to our Twitch family, and it's a very welcoming environment. Pollo shouts out this show all the time. She shouts out what we do over here, and that's why we have this good feelings with Pollo. Pollo is very supportive of this podcast, this live stream, so we're trying to be equally as supportive and reciprocate that kindness. And Pollo also says, Sam, we watched all 4 years of the original Smoky Mountain. We're watching USWA from '93 and Joe Kazana simultaneously. So yeah,
very good.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun because Pollo will hit you some of that commentary, and Pollo points out some things that maybe you wouldn't have thought about or I would have thought about. But overall,
hey.
It's here. I'm here. It's good. It's all good.
Told me this wasn't going to happen anymore.
No, I told you that I had batteries, but it's still going to turn off every 30 minutes if I don't hit the button.
I feel like you deceived me now.
Well, you didn't pay for the batteries. It's all right.
So anyway, getting back to the whole mess. I mean, there's nothing magical. Getting back to where the NWA would probably be sold to. It'd probably be sold to AEW now. Tony Khan would own it. Is that good? Is that bad? Well, I don't like Tony Khan's AEW, so my view would be bad. I like Billy better than Tony. So let's summarize our show so far for those who missed the first hour. We enjoy the interview program with Billy. Jay enjoys it more than I do, but as I'm a grumpy cat, then that shouldn't be surprising to anybody. And NWA was almost sold to Sinclair, but that was back when there were a whole bunch of partners in it, and they weren't about to give up what they thought was a cash cow for them. And Vince is back in charge of WWE and may be selling it to Saudi or may sell it to a television thing. And I say if they sell it to a large entertainment industry, it'll probably be gone in about 15 years. And most importantly, yes, definitely. And but I'm a big fan of yours, so I feel like I should, get some slack for that. And I think I'm ready to talk about Hammerstone.
Well, okay, let's get to Hammerstone in just a minute because I mean, look, Hammerstone. Look, we got a lot to talk about with him as well. But I did want to, this is the weekend. There's two really big shows happening, and our fan base, I think, would be very interested in hearing about one or both of these shows. And now, first one I'm going to talk about is the United Wrestling Network's Red Carpet Rumble. And the reason why I'm talking about that one specifically is because, well, I'm going to be at that event. I'm going to be at the Red Carpet Rumble, and I'm very much looking forward to it because, again, I am a Dave Marquez guy. I've said it from the very get-go. Part of what made it so easy for me to get this podcast started and this website going is because of my relationship with Dave Marquez. He was always kind, always allowed me to have entry and access to his locker rooms, to his events, allowed me to meet a lot of great, talented individuals. Kicked off my relationship. What's that?
I'll be back. You can enlarge to yourself if you talk about this.
All right, I can. All right, give me just a second, and I'll do just that. So yeah, let me talk about the Red Carpet Rumble while DK is gone. And as a wow, I didn't realize how much you could see in the background. I got some Legos for Christmas, guys. Legos. Anyways, so the Red Carpet Rumble, of course, we're gonna have a big matchups with the NWA, with the United Wrestling Network's World Championship being on the line. Eddie Kingston from AEW will be challenging Danny Limelight. Kingston was announced for this event before Danny Limelight even won the title. It was supposed to be Jordan Clearwater versus Eddie Kingston for the World's Heavyweight Championship. Of course, card is subject to change. We had Danny Limelight win the belt, so things changed a little bit in that direction. Now, at this event, you're also going to see some talents from AEW, like we said, Eddie Kingston, but also on the card, Colt Boom Boom Cabana, Ortiz, Marina Shafir, if I'm saying that right. And then also talents from, New Japan Strong. We're going to have Clark Connors on the card. Peter Avalon makes his return to Arizona as he takes on R3 Costas. If you guys have been following the Championship Wrestling from Arizona, which went on sabbatical after COVID hit. That was one of the main feuds that was going on at the time. Another matchup that's going to be happening is Reno Scum will be defending the United Wrestling Network World Tag Team titles against former champions Midnight Heat. Reno Scum has been on a tear as of late. They've looked absolutely phenomenal. Midnight Heat is a tag team that, when we talk about the NWA, we talk about the Crockett Cup. Both of these teams should have been in the Crockett Cup in 2022. And if there's a Crockett Cup in 2023, either one of these teams would be a great addition to that. Also, Marina Shafir will be taking on Zeta Zhang. Zeta Zhang, if some of you guys may not know, had a brief time with the NXT. She also has a background in mixed martial arts. And so this was kind of an exciting bunch of matches that are set up for this Saturday in Mesa, Arizona. They're also going to have a VIP meet and greet with all of the talents. And I'm very much looking forward to it. Again, if you are following this channel, obviously you've seen a lot of highlights from the United Wrestling Network. I try to post content from the NWA and the United Wrestling Network equally. So if you're following our Instagram, our Twitter, our Hive, our Facebook, and then of course here on YouTube or TikTok, you'll see some of the highlights and some videos, matches, and all in all, just some of the results that will take place this Saturday in Mesa, Arizona at the Red Carpet Rumble. Of course, the Red Carpet Rumble will determine who will be the next person to challenge for the United Wrestling Network World Champion. Already announced for that, like I said, Colt Boom Boom Cabana, the NWA's Jordan Clearwater, Willie Mack, Alexander Hammerstone, as you know, we're going to be talking about him in just a few minutes. So there's a great lineup for this event, and I'm very much looking forward to that. I'm seeing some of your guys' comments. I was looking away for a minute. Poyo says Midnight Heat absolutely should be in the Crockett Cup. Without a doubt, those two guys are super talented. You know, and I'll be honest, I don't. I'm so impressed by them as a tag team. I feel like they would work in just about any market and any promotion. They kind of have that FTR vibe where that's very much a throwback to the old tag teams. And yes, Poyo, I mean, I love the fact that she agrees with me here. They are dream opponents for my team, MPR. Yeah, and MPR would be another team that hopefully we'll see in the Crockett Cup in the near future, if not in 2023, maybe in 2024. Paladin wants to bring up that Impact has Hard to Kill Friday night. Absolutely. And our own Bully Ray, the NWA's Bully Ray, will be taking on Josh Alexander, who is now the longest reigning Impact World Champion. Now, I know a little bit about what's going on in Impact, but I'll be honest, I am not an expert, but I do know that Mickie James will be challenging, what's her name? Oh, God, it's on the tip of my tongue. The really muscular female. Someone's gonna pull it up here for me in a minute, but she basically it's a title versus career. If Mickie loses, Jordan Grace, thank you, Poyo. If Jordan Grace wins, of course she stays champion, and Mickie retires. Mickie James, wife of Nick Aldis, but really a legend in her own right. And if Mickie James wins, well, of course she'll become an Impact champion, but I think for like the fourth time. So there, I mean, there's a lot of great wrestling happening this weekend. And the other event that I'm going to talk about real quick, even though DK wants to talk about Hammerstone, I do want to talk about the Duval Brawl because it's such an NWA influenced show. And I know our good friend Poyo is going to be appearing at the Duval Brawl. But I wanted to just talk a little bit more about that event because I really feel like that show looks pretty good to me as well. I have some of the graphics, I guess. They're not in any kind of order, so I'll just read from what I have written down. At the Duval Brawl, again, this is the fifth one. Now, the Duval Brawl is basically an extension of
Hey, Jay.
Yeah.
This isn't wrestling related at all. But I do want to interrupt with some major breaking news just in the entertainment business. Lisa Marie Presley has passed away.
Oh.
Cardiac arrest.
Oh, wow.
So 54, the daughter of Elvis Presley, has passed.
Also, briefly, the wife of Michael Jackson, too.
Yes, so
rest in peace.
Her mother is still living, so I feel really bad for her. So,
yeah, I saw earlier today that she was rushed to the hospital, but that's rough, man. That's at 54 is way too young to go.
Yeah, and I don't want to sound morbid, but it would not surprise me if it's under similar conditions as her father. But yeah, I mean, it's just popped up on my computer as breaking news.
That's really rough too. And in DK, you're a parent just like I am, and I know a lot of you in the chat are. No parent should ever have to bury their child, and that's just I hope I'm long gone before my kids are gone. So yeah, that's just that's a bummer, and yeah, that's rough. Condolences to the family, condolences to the friends and fans, and yeah. All right, back to the Duval Brawl. Not that it's fun to talk about wrestling after a year celebrity passes away, but the Duval Brawl. This is the fifth Duval Brawl. Now, this is an extension basically of the Love Alive charity that the Pope started up, and that whole charity is kind of there to improve the lives of the people who live in that Duval area code, the Jacksonville area, if you will. And it's in conjunction with the Fighting Evolution Wrestling. They present this is event has happened multiple times, and Pope has always used some of his friends from within the industry. Like you've seen JTG has appeared on a lot of these cards. In the past, we've had Tyrus appear on some of these events. But ever since the Pope has been a part of the NWA, you kind of see a little bit of an NWA flavor to it. And this year's Duval Brawl will be no different. For VIP ticket holders, there will be an exclusive meet and greet with Women's World Champion Camille, Tom Latimer, and of course, AEW's Red Velvet, who's been very active with this charity as well. The matches that I've seen that are scheduled to happen on Saturday in Jacksonville will be Isaiah Zane will be taking on Malik Bose. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. The NWA's Big Strong Mims will be in action. I think they kind of alluded to him looking for a tag team partner, so maybe we'll see Mims in some tag team action. Another match featuring NWA's Tom Latimer. He'll be taking on Isaiah Bronson. Of course, the Women's World Champion Camille will be in action, and she has issued an open challenge. Now, I don't know who's going to step up to face her, but with AEW's Red Velvet in the house, maybe we might have a cross promotional match there between AEW's Red Velvet and our very own Camille. That's just wishful thinking. That's not confirmed or anything like that. Then you have the Duval Brawl, which is they call it the Rumble Royal. And it's featuring Vernon Black, TJ Sykes, Rico Hendricks, and a lot more. Also in a title versus title match with the winner take all, the All-Caribbean Wrestling Champion Reggie Rhythm. He will battle the Love Alive Charity Triumph Champion Jason Dugan. And the winner will walk away with both championship titles. The New Nation will challenge the Love Alive Charity Tag Team Champions, The End. You guys might remember them from a couple seasons ago in the NWA. That would be Paro and, of course, Odinson, who is still quite the regular for the NWA. JTG will be in action. He'll be challenging the Love Alive Charity champion, heavyweight champion, Alan Russell. And what I think is going to be the main event, although no one has explicitly told it to me, it'll be a teacher versus student type matchup with Cameron Russell taking on his mentor, the Pope, in a Duval strap match. I think this card looks really good to me. We have seen these matches last year. Last year, Trevor Murdoch defended the 10 pounds of gold against Gangrel on that same card. Those matches would later be released on the Pope's YouTube channel. So I'm hopeful and say that a lot of these matches might end up there as well. And Poyo kind of summarized it too. JTG challenges for the LAC title, the Pope in a strap match. The End defend the tag titles against New Nation, and so much more. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I think it'll be pretty good. Paladin wanted to bring the room down by saying it's going to be a year of celebrity deaths. I mean, I think every year we have celebrity deaths. Last year we lost Betty White. So it's that's kind of how it goes. Luthez says, damn, rest in peace, princess. Yeah, that's a tough one. That family's kind of gone through a lot. Sam Retro says, I feel like the Duval Brawl last year was supposed to be an NWA taping. I don't think it was ever supposed to be an NWA taping, but I'm glad that it was filmed. I mean, I was happy to watch those matches. Seeing Murdoch wrestling against Gangrel. Trevor didn't get a lot of title defenses in his first run as champion, so that matchup against Gangrel actually seemed very important looking backwards. Let's see. Our pal Rick Del Santo's in the house. What's up, Rick? And Poyo said last year's show was so fun. This year should be too. And naturally, money, power, respect with the manager of champions make. Oh, okay, Poyo. I didn't know your boys were going to be in this event. So maybe your team will be facing Mims in a tag team partner. I don't know. I'm just speculating. But yeah, that should be a pretty fun event. Again, we bring it up here on this show because it is very heavily influenced with NWA personality and talents. And I think the more we start seeing live events containing talents from other shows, I said that in reverse. The more we see these other shows containing talent from the NWA, I think we're going to be talking more about those events in the future. So Poya says that they'll be watching the LAC tag title match very closely. That new nation looks like they'd be a good fit for the NWA as well. So we'll see. But let's talk about your buddy Hammerstone. Let's talk about the Hammerstone.
Oh, yeah, him.
He, I don't know if you're aware of this, but in this country, in the United States, he's the second longest reigning world heavyweight champion, only behind Roman Reigns.
That's right.
Some 480 days. And I know that
October 2nd of 21. October 2nd of 21.
Yeah, and I mean, and who did he beat to win that title? I mean, he beat Jacob Fatu, the same man that he'll be defending the title against in February at the 2300 Arena in Philadelphia for MLW. So I mean, are you getting excited, or tell me about Hammerstone?
I'm getting excited because I think their first match was really good, and Hammerstone got injured in it, and so they've only met as part of a three-way since then, and this is probably the first real threat to his title reign, I would say. Could Jacob Fatu regain the title? And I think there's a possibility that he could. I hope not, because kind of like Gary Hart, Hammerstone's kind of my guy. I enjoy watching him. Dave will be at MLW on February 4th. We expect scouting reports, Dave. And but just talk a little bit. He's been world champion, as you put it, second longest reigning world champion currently in the U.S. That for a promotion that people have heard about. And he's held the title 15 months. He's had 13 title defenses, so just short of 1 a month.
Poyle's rooting for Jacob.
Bring that belt back to California. Well, that could be interesting. So, and he's defended the title against the likes of Davey Richards, Richard Holiday on a couple different occasions, Bandito. He had a title versus title match with Josh Alexander of Impact, who, by the way, currently holds the record for the longest single reign as Impact champion, passing Bobby Roode. And so, he's certainly had some good matches. I mean, he's also defended against the likes of Lance Noy, who was well known on the East Coast, but probably not as, a name that the average person would recognize. But he's one of Fatu's cousins and part of the legendary Samoan family.
Let's not forget, too, that Hammerstone has taken the title to Mexico. He took the title to the United Kingdom. He's defended it all over the United States. And something that I think a lot of people are sleeping on is, remember, he was the open middleweight champion when he won.
National champion.
Oh, excuse me, the national champion. Excuse me. He was the
national open weight champion.
Thank you. That's a mouthful. He was that champion before winning the world title. So he never even lost that title. Obviously, it was stripped of them because the company didn't want him to hold both titles. But that just shows you how good Hammerstone has been in MLW. And he's not just good in MLW. I mean, he still wrestles for Future Stars of Wrestling in Las Vegas. He'll be at the Red Carpet Rumble, too. I think he'll be actually in the Rumble in his own home state. Hammerstone, and going back to Hammerstone as the national champion, he was defending that title in Japan too.
Yeah, he was. He's basically been a champion in MLW for about 3.5 years. Yeah, without a break. So that he's been a champion straight in one company longer than even Roman Reigns has been world champion. So think about that, people. But yeah, he let's see, you're talking about he's been here in Dallas defending the title. He's been in Mexico defending the title, like you said. Pennsylvania, New York, defended the title in New York City.
And he's had matches out here, just not defending the MLW Championship. But.
Yeah, and throughout this thing, he has held other titles. He's been champion in several promotions, both before and since he's held this MLW Championship. Almost all his messages are
matches.
Excuse me. Almost all his matches are title matches.
Real quick, I do want to point out that Poyo and our resident MLW expert, Dave Scooby, were talking about the new Samoan SWAT team, which is Juicy Fanu and I believe Jacob Fatu have been tearing up in MLW. They're the new tag team champions, which is great for Juicy Fanu and Jacob Fatu. But how will that?
I think Lance either is or was a part of that.
I think it's the trio. I think it's all three of them. Yeah. I could be mistaken. And Juicy actually was working in Championship Wrestling from Hollywood there for a short time too. So yeah, I mean, a lot of cool things happening in MLW. I know that it's also, I know Dave Scooby was kind of doing the scouting report yesterday about MLW. You can watch them on BN Sports. They're also part of the, they have their pay-per-views are available on Fight. I think you can also catch them on the Pro Wrestling Network, which I think is available on your iOS or your iOS device, or some TVs have that ability to download it. How do you watch MLW?
To me?
Yes, you.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Huh?
No, I watch through. I don't have BIN, but a friend of mine does. So, he records it and I watch it from at his place.
Gotcha. I honestly have been wanting to dive into it. I haven't really got into it yet, so I'm interested in what's happening. I just realized that they actually live stream them on the Pro Wrestling. It's the app that's on my phone, and I'm trying to look it up so I can tell you guys what it is. But I was watching Jacob Fatu wrestle somebody the other night on there, and I was like, wow, that guy always blows me away with how he's able to do anything in the ring. He's such a what's the word I'm looking for being a super heavyweight. He moves around the ring like a luchador. Yeah,
he does. They still bill him at over 300 pounds, and quite honestly, I don't know if he still is. He got himself into a lot better shape and dropped some weight. Still a big guy.
Yeah. And by the way, you can watch MLW on the ProWrestling.tv app. So you should check that out as well.
So there's a lot of good talent in MLW. I'm not always thrilled with the way they use a lot of them, but I mainly follow the main event scene. And so on the main event scene, I think they've done a good job of bringing in outside talent that has name value and bringing up people that within the, like Richard Holiday and others that, within the company, Davey Richards, who's their national openweight champion and everything, who to challenge for the title. Okay, now my brain was blocked up and now it just all went out together. But they've done a good job of balancing out MLW wrestlers and outside of MLW wrestlers for him to challenge him for the title. I think they've done done a good job with him. I wish Murdoch had kind of been treated the way Hammerstone was treated.
You're saying you wish that Trevor Murdoch would have had those same kind of opportunities, those same kind of matchups where they would bring in some insiders, some outsiders. So like Trevor Murdoch, he would face Matt Cardona, then potentially have a match with somebody from outside of the NWA, right?
Yeah, and make it very clear, the thing about it was Hammerstone won typically in a convincing fashion. I mean, they did set up some stuff with him and Richard Holiday, of course, so that the first match wasn't, he won, but you were ready to see the rematch. And so, yeah, that's my thing. We had a conversation about the NWA that we can go back to later, and who's out there right now that's being built up to be any of the champions. But we can talk about that later. For now, we're going to focus on Hammerstone. I think one of the things that make Hammerstone work as a champion is that he's got the look between his hair and unshaved face and muscles that on top of muscles, so to speak, that he wrestles a style that he's not quite as fluid as Jacob Fatu, but he can mix it up with a big guy, but he doesn't look out of place wrestling a more technical wrestler like a smaller wrestler like Davey Richards, who you and I got to see live at the NWA show. And
yeah, that's the first MLW match I've ever seen live.
So that was, and so it's interesting because when we saw him there next to Colby Carino, you realize that Davey Richards is not that big of a guy.
No, but he is lethal in the ring.
Yeah, for somebody who's been Impact champion and ROH champion and all that. So, and he's scary in the ring with his moves, but scary in a good way, not in a
I also want to bring up, as we're talking about Hammerstone, I don't know if you're aware of this, but the MLW has a partnership with Boss Fight, which is the same company that produced the Mass Republic wrestling figures. And so they have coming soon will be a Hammerstone wrestling figure along with Jacob Fatu, Mads Kruger, and I think Davey Richards as well. And if you've seen them, they're pretty incredible. I'm going to see if I can get this link up here, but it's pretty awesome. And I honestly, I think, just because Hammerstone's been on this podcast before.
Yes.
He is a friend of the show, so I'm kind of looking forward to to see what these actually look like, and I might be picking up some too.
Well, I tell you what, they're not priced for kids.
No, and they shouldn't be.
Oh, I think kids should always have an option of playing with a toy, but
I'm teasing. I agree with you. They should be. So I'm going to pull this up real quick. You keep talking.
Well, just on that same vein, I remember when you're buying some collectible toys for Christmas, and I'm the type of guy that may take them out of their box to display them. And as I was trying to undo all the twists and everything on one of them, I was telling my wife at the time, I go, it's very obvious this was never meant to be unboxed. I mean, they got this thing so tied down and so in that box that I go, I don't think they ever thought anybody was going to go through the effort of trying to take it off.
Also, Dave Scooby wants to point out that the new triple threat with Wrecking Ball Legursky and our friend of this show, Ray Jazz, working together with Shane Douglas and actually Francine as well.
Francine?
Yeah. Right?
Wow. That's a name I haven't heard in a while.
You're saying that like it's a bad thing.
I'm just saying I haven't heard it in a while.
There it is. I was able to get the action figures up, but I mean, look. Every time I see the Hammerstone, I'm just like, that's so perfect. That it matches his ring gear pretty perfectly. And Jacob Fatu, I mean, that's sculpted so well for his face. And yeah, I mean, I don't know if that the Davey Richards looks really accurate to me, but the other three look amazing.
Honestly, when I first saw this, I go Hammerstone, Fatu, Max. Who's that other guy?
Yeah, I kind of are like I'm only assuming that that's Davey Richards based on the tattoo. I'm not. It might not.
No, I looked it up on the thing, and that's who it was. But it was just like, okay there.
I think that's pretty cool. I think anytime, there's with pro wrestling, I think merchandising is so underutilized. I mean, I'm looking at stuff like, you get bootlegs of Blue Demon in Mexico, but like there's not like a official Blue Demon wrestling merchandise. So I guess Master Republic does that now, but there's very few people where you can get like actual licensed merchandise, and I think it's really cool when companies do it. So for MLW, and I think that's pretty awesome. I wish the NWA could get in on something like that, but right now, I mean, if the NWA were to come out with a 4-pack of action figures, now that Nick Aldis is gone, who would it be?
Oh, no. I am wrong. You're wrong.
Who is it?
It's Killer Cross.
Oh, damn. Okay, well, now that makes a lot more sense.
Or at least that's what it says here on the Boss Fight Shop collectors thing. They have, well, this is interesting. They have Jacob Fatu, Alexander Hammerstone, Mads Kruger, Killer Cross, and they're all $40 basically, $39.99. And you can get the championship belt collection. So you can get minis of the tag team titles, the heavyweight title, the middleweight title, the National Openweight Championship, a title I don't recognize. Oh, that's probably the Women's Championship. And it looks like also the Opera Cup.
Well, so the interesting thing about this too is so that the same company is like has released like oh god, what is his name? The Lucha Bros. I can't think of their names right now, but I'm sure someone else will. It looks like they're getting ready to release like a Black Taurus, an Ultimo Dragon, a Vampiro. So it's like there's going to be a lot of like scale wise, a lot of these figures that you've seen in the world of wrestling show up in the same type of scale size. So I think it's gonna be kind of cool if you're a wrestling collector. They even have a Taya Valkyrie as well. So it's like
looking at that.
What's that?
So I'm just now looking at it. Boy, they do have a lot up here, don't they?
Yeah.
Penta and Ray Phoenix is who you're thinking of.
I couldn't think of their names, and I didn't want to say the wrong thing. So Penta and Ray Phoenix. Dave Scooby says they need to do a Microman figure, but I think really that would be the sculpt of a head. Like that's all. It's so small. You wouldn't need much there.
They have Conan.
Yeah, Conan. When he was still wearing the mask. And
Conan.
Paladin says he loves Paladin. I know Paladin's based in Southern California. Have you seen some of the Micromania tours? You say you love midget wrestling. There's literally a company that comes through all over Southern California. I saw that recently they were in Montclair. I know that they've been in Norco quite a bit, and they do some stuff, closer to Santa Paula and kind of towards Santa Barbara. But they actually run all over the United States. What's it called? I said it just a minute ago, and I can't remember it. Just mini wrestling, little people wrestling. So if you love that style of wrestling, you should check some of that stuff out.
When's the NWA gonna make a deal to get some action figures?
I do applaud, as I drop everything. I do applaud Aldis for he tried to get something going. He did this and there was an actual figure for Mickey James as well, from Cella Sports, I guess, or Cella Toys, excuse me. And I applaud them for doing that, but as a whole, the NWA hasn't really done anything like that. Danny Deals has got shirts for you, they've got hats for you, but action figures, I think, if they were smart, they'd probably try to work with Boss Fight Wrestling. But again, DK, who would,
if they can,
sure, but who would be MLW's got 4 figures. They've got Karrion Kross, who's now with the WWE. They got Mads Kruger, who they just released. You got Jacob Fatu, and you got Alexander Hammerstone. If the NWA were to do something like this, which 4 talents would you put on the action figure right now?
Trevor Murdoch. Pope.
All right.
Because Tyrus, if he's going to hold the world title for any length of time.
Okay.
If he's not going to hold the world title for any length of time, then probably whoever you're going to build to be the next champion, if that's been decided. But if it's going to be me, I would do Latimer and Camille.
So who are your 4?
So I'm doing 4.
You're doing 4. So who's your 4?
Trevor Murdoch. Who did I say after him?
Pope.
Okay. Yeah, Trevor Murdoch, Pope, Latimer, and Camille.
James Bell says Camille, Tyrus, Pope, and Pollo.
Well, I think we need a Pollo.
Sam Retro, he points out Matt Cardona. This is kind of a tough question because Sam Retro's 4 would be Cardona, Camille, Latimer, and Pope. It's such a hard one, right? I think if I were to do it, I would probably go Tyrus. I think I would go Camille, and I think I would go Mecha Wolf and Bastia, right? Your tag team champions. That'd be your 4 world champions.
And that would certainly make sense. Here's why I didn't pick Cardona. I did think about him. I didn't pick him because I really don't know how much more he's going to be around.
You really want him to leave the NWA? Just say it.
Well, no, I can actually handle him the way he's been used more recently. I wouldn't want him winning the title at the pay-per-view. But just as far as being used in there, kind of like the way EC3 is being used in there at the moment, as a wrestler, I could get it. If they would kind of drop the narrative thing, control your narrative from EC3, at least as part of the championship challenge series, which may be the best thing about the championship challenge series. And I could see somebody like EC3 being built up to win a title. I don't know if he beats Tyrus, but I could certainly see him as somebody. Again, he's been a former world champion at Impact, which some people complain about, but no again. And if you ever say anything like that again, I'm banning you. And it's just he is somebody I thought of. The thing is, I don't know who Billy has in her contract.
Well, we know so we know some names, right? We know Kerry Morton, we know Kenzie Page, we know.
I don't know that they're going to work as action figures. I don't know that they're going to work as action figures. Now, I'll tell you what: if you get a Ricky Morton Legend action figure type thing, similar to like WWF, where you don't put the old man Kerry Morton in the thing, but a younger one.
What about Austin Idol?
If we're going to talk about legends, I think tons of people know who Ricky Morton is. I don't know that the same amount of people know who Austin Idol is. I just simply don't. And if you're smart, you go to Robert Gibson and say, I want to do a rock and roll 2-pack. And say, here, a legend, and you put the tag team belts in with them.
Well, I think if you're looking to just sell figures, right, and it's just under the NWA packaging, I mean, you could do exact everything you just said with Ricky and Robert, and then also maybe go with Nikita Koloff and Magnum TA.
Well, anybody who you could strike a deal with, which would be anyone who doesn't probably have a Legends contract currently.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, the Legends you could probably do in 2 packs.
I never thought this would become a figure talk podcast, but here we are.
Well, as people who go out and buy this crap, you don't want to know how many James Cornette figures I own. I don't want to know how many James Cornette figures I own. But actually, James Cornette says something that I love when he's talking about his shop. He sells collectibles, which is why a lot of the things that are in his shop that aren't like the T-shirts or whatever, and only a few of the T-shirts or his certificate for Colts Cornette, they're not out forever. Harley Race. Yeah. They're not out. They're not out forever, and so that's kind of the way this would have to be. Is that, hey, here we're offering you some stuff, and we're only if you could afford them, sure. You probably don't let him talk because I understand he's not very good at talking anymore, but
I think if you were to bring Tolian in, sorry, that's a great question. That's why I allowed it to kind of derail the conversation for a minute. I think if you bring Tolian in, first thing you do is you gotta put him with a team that doesn't need somebody to actually talk for them, but he could be like the silent advisor. Maybe not even a team. Maybe it's an individual, right? Like I'm not saying bring him and put him with Tyrus, but I'm saying bring him in and put him with somebody like Tyrus, where Tyrus can still cut the promo. Tyrus can still do all the talking. But you just have that credibility of somebody who's, kind of been a big deal in the NWA. Like maybe if, Jordan Clearwater is kind of tied to Idolmania Sports Management, so is Scion, but maybe a guy like Dax Draper or something like that. The show is kind of spiraled out of control, and this is what happens when the NWA doesn't give us a format of having power every week. You're leaving us to just talk about anything, and we're all over the place now. Wrestling
was never. What do we call them? Free for alls?
Yeah, we used to call these free for alls. Wrestling with the MMA says I have the comic Corny put out. Luthez says need me a Colonel Buck Robley with a yellow T-shirt. All right, Colonel Rob. Or Colonel Buck.
I don't know how to respond to that.
Well, you better figure out a way because that's what you're paid to do is talk. You're a talking head, sir.
So, hey, I did my job. I broke news, even if it wasn't wrestling news.
You did break news.
I broke a few other things too. But anyway,
like my heart,
your heart, rules, wind, you name it. Look, Jade and I killed one of these shows, so I need to kill one with you too.
Well, it's dying a slow death here. We're just gonna let it. We're gonna, we've got 20 more minutes to get for the typical 2-hour show, or we could cut it early here. I say let's just run it into the ground.
Let's go with something we talked about earlier. So we talked about Hammerstone. We talked about how his, we feel MLW's done a good job with his reign. He's a good person to have as champion. He's charismatic. He's got the look. He's got the energy. He's somebody who's, despite the fact he's been a champion of some kind for over 3.5 years, I wouldn't say that he was shoved down our throats in a similar way to a former world champion who's no longer with the NWA. But let's talk about the NWA, and let's talk about champions in the NWA and the other alliance guys. We're doing a little bit of talking, and I asked this question. I said, what has the NWA doing to get any of their champions or any of the challengers over? I mean, at the upcoming, is it the live show? They're got the U.S. Tag Team title going against
Country Gentlemen.
And so it's like, well, are the Fixers still over or not? And, not as much as they used to be. Do we care if they wrestle the Southern Gentlemen? Well, not in particular. They haven't given us a reason to care.
No.
Jim Ross, wrestling's not complicated. I need a good guy, I need a bad guy, and I need a reason for them to, to be fighting. Sean Mega, MLW is in worse shape than the NWA. I enjoy MLW more than I enjoy the NWA. So worse shape, bad shape, I don't know. I don't see it that way, but everybody's entitled to their opinion and to be wrong. And I'll admit, I said it earlier, I don't watch much outside of the main event scene. I don't really keep up with the middleweight championship or even the women's.
Yeah.
So, and they are kind of a hodgepodge of different wrestling styles, which sometimes can make the show a little bit difficult to watch. And they do have some of the same issues in modern wrestling as they'll jump to gimmick matches quick without necessarily having a solid reason for it.
Right.
I don't know if that means they're in worse shape. I don't know what they are financially, or if you're just talking wrestling wise. But and one of the things I pointed about Hammerstone is I felt they did a good mix of bringing in names in, but still having people there in the company who, made credible challengers. So right now, quick, Jay.
Yeah.
Without looking it up, without having to think too hard, name me all the champions in the NWA.
I can do that. Tyrus is your world champion. Scion is your national champion. Your TV champion is Jordan Clearwater. Your women's champion is Camille. Your tag champions are La Rebellion. Your women's tag champions are Pretty Empowered. Your U.S. tag champions are the Fixers. And your junior heavyweight champion is Kerry Morton.
Very good. You're reading a list, I know. But anyway.
I was right off the top of the old noggin.
I'm not sure how many people out in our audience could have done that challenge. And quite honestly, as I was going through it with my head, I forgot about Kerry Morton. And I don't mean that it's a thing on him. I just literally forgot.
Yeah.
And as you were naming all the men's things and then kind of switched over and named them last, I think, that was one of those things that kind of, it slips your mind until you're like, oh, yeah.
It wasn't intentional. It's just that's literally how they popped into my head. I typically I try to keep it like the world champions, then the regional champions, and then so like your world champions would be.
Yeah, but you named your national champion first. Second.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I typically that's how I would have done it, but. And Luthez has got my back because he said I was tested and passed. So Jeremy says he could have named them all. You know what? I've been thinking a lot about the champions lately too. Like, and I know you're going somewhere with this, DK, but you look at somebody like Kerry Morton, and Kerry Morton was not the person I wanted to hold the junior heavyweight championship. We've talked at length about Kerry Morton and how I feel like he's still a little green, but he's getting better. And we even voted him as the most improved. Maybe not we, but he was the Alliance guy's most improved wrestler in the NWA.
Again, you guys are entitled to be wrong.
Yeah, but when you think about it, right? He's had multiple defenses already. I know he defended the title at that Ricky the Dragon Steamboat show, the final one, the BTW show. So he had a title defense there. He defended the title on GCW. So he's already kind of brought some more exposure to it. He's defending the title this weekend in Chicago. He's already booked on June 23rd to defend the title in North Carolina again. And that's, to me, like, that's what you want from your champion. Like,
hey, Jay, are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. Name me the number one contender for all the titles.
Well, I don't think there's an official number one contender, but here's what I'm going to try to
do. Who right now does the NWA have as the top challenger for all their titles?
Matt Cardona is your number one contender for the World's Heavyweight Championship. For the women's title, I'm going to say Taya Valkyrie, but I don't think that's been expressed. For the tag titles, I'm going to say Hawk Ari, although that hasn't been expressed. For the junior heavyweight title, I'm going to say Colby Carino, although that hasn't been expressed. For the national championship, I'm going to say for Scion, I'm going to say it is Joe Alonzo, maybe. For the TV title, I'm going to say Mims. For the U.S. tag titles, we're going to say the Country Gentleman. And for Pretty in Power,
no one. Okay, so let's look at who you did. So Cardona is the one that they're building up for Tyrus.
Yeah,
so that's an easy one. For the tag team titles, Hawk Ari are the leftovers from the last go around. They've already lost 5 times to him. Who cares? Who wants to see that again? So who's out there right now that's going to be the next big challenger? I mean, no one's being talked about. So who's the next big challenging team? All right, Junior Heavyweight Championship. Colby Carino, because it's kind of a leftover feud between them. Him and Kerry, and he's got that porn stash, so you gotta have Colby as part of it. Not really being built up as a champion, not somebody I mean, my first thought was Homicide. Is Homicide still wrestling for him?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen him. He wasn't part of the Champion Series, but that just means we haven't seen him in a while.
But they did do something with him in New Orleans afterwards. I don't know. Like I said, the Champion Series just kind of quashed a lot of things. So U.S. Tag Team Champions, we're saying the Country Gentlemen because that's who they're facing. And no real rhyme or reason given, just, hey, here they are. I mean, they defended against the Spectaculars. Have they had any other title defenses?
Who, the Fixers?
Yeah.
I'll look it up while you keep talking.
So, women's champion Taya Valkyrie again. Of course, that's kind of the last few. There's not anybody that's been pushing. Maybe killing King still. I don't know. I don't know if there's anyone that the NWA is just building up to be the thing. I mean, a lot of these, it's not that you're wrong in any of your answers, but
it's just not necessarily right.
Yeah, you're not necessarily right with about. I mean, the national champion, we couldn't come up with anybody other than just starting. So
So since winning the tag titles, the Fixers defended against Gold Rush, which is Clearwater and Marche Rocket. They defended the tag titles against the Spectaculars, Brady Pierce and Rush Freeman. They defended the titles against the Country Gentlemen on USA episode 1 of season 5 from the Frederick J. Seeger Civic Center. So this is kind of a rematch.
Yeah, I thought this was a rematch. But I just couldn't remember. I didn't look it up. I just couldn't remember if they had defended again. I thought it was a rematch.
Yeah.
And so, that's my thing. I mean, really, the World Championship is the only one where we can kind of point to there being a true person. I mean, even in the upcoming live show, Camille's not defending her title. She's in a mixed tag team match. Her and her man against Angelina Love and Davey Richards' Darren replacement like in Bewitched. Can I ever tell you that one of the times when I checked out Impact, as I'm prone to do from time to time, was during the Davey Richards Angelina Love-a-thon, when they would make out on camera like every time they were on camera, and they're feuding with Eddie Edwards.
Yeah, Eddie Edwards and his chick, whose name I can't think of right now.
Yeah, I don't even know if they're still together, honestly. But I do know that basically he lost like a loser leave town or something like that match because he was going to go into retirement, and like they were gone from Impact for a month when it was announced they got divorced or they were splitting up or whatever. It's like, oh, apparently Alicia Edwards. Thank you, Sam. Are they still married, Sam? Do you know? Are they? I don't watch Impact, so I don't know if there's anything. But does she still wrestle or do anything? Is she still involved in any way? So my whole point is that I don't feel like the NWA is doing anything to get their champions. If champions are getting over, it's because what the champions do. I mean, if people are cheering Kerry Morton because he's out there wrestling on other promotions, and good for him for going out there and wrestling on other promotions, and defending the title.
Yeah.
But that's probably Ricky Morton behind that. And by the way, can we stop seeing Ricky Morton in the ring? I had to throw that out. And
sorry. As replied to Alicia Edwards, she's still there. I don't know about wrestling, but she sucks. Sam's telling you like it is. She sucks.
Well, I don't really know how to respond to that, and I'm not going to, because we'd lose our PG-15 rating.
Well, let's say this, like, for sure the NWA has a lot of obstacles that it's going to have to overcome. We've got a lot of programming coming at us hard and fast in the next few weeks, because we have the live event, which we're already predicting is not going to be very good, just because there's a lot of things that I wouldn't consider. The wedding segment. You've got the mixed tag match. You've got the U.S. tag match. You've got the no tables match. I mean, all this could be fun and all this could be good, but it doesn't compel me. None of this compels me to see the live power. They're going to do the contract signing for Cardona and Tyrus,
which will probably go as well as the wedding.
Yeah, so I mean, all this doesn't make me want to go order any of the pay-per-views. Doesn't make me want to go to any of the live events. But I think that there could be still some entertaining stuff happening on these cards. The Country Gentlemen versus the Fixers might be a lot better match than we are even estimating.
Well, I don't, and this is one of those things. I'm not saying it's going to be a bad match,
right?
I'm saying, why do I care? You have to give me a reason to care. This is a rematch, and I can't remember what happened the first time they met.
Yeah.
And so, did something happen the first time they met that makes me want to see this again?
No, it's just that's who they're putting up to the table.
Because they don't have anybody. And, it's that type of thing. Just God, I hate the championship series. I really do.
I don't hate it, to be honest with you. I just think that
again, you can be wrong. I don't mind, but
I think this is the time where you take these, where you had no storyline. You're going with a clean slate. This gives you a storyline to go forward with.
Does it?
It could.
We'll see. I don't think they did a lot good. I don't think they did a lot good out of it last year. I only one good thing came out of it last year, and that was Jack Stain's cash in.
Oh, that was brilliant.
That since Billy, if his interview shows the best bit of production that he's done, that angle was the best angle that they've executed in almost a totally perfect manner. Probably since he's taken over the NWA. What happened afterwards, kind of weird, but that particular execution of that particular angle, I loved. And I'll certainly willing to give credit for whatever for whatever was done. I don't know. But, again, Billy likes complicated, so Nick Aldis likes complicated. Let's go back, Kiss, keep it simple, shithead. And I said this after they did all the other things and they were showing repeats of Primetime Live with the NWA matches on the show, and they drew such big numbers. And I said then, almost surprisingly big for something that was older. Everybody knew the results too and all that good stuff. And I said then, I go, weird thing, wrestling fans like wrestling.
Ain't that the truth, Daddy?
It's the truth. They apparently don't like to talk about it, but it's the truth.
Heading to some weird times, Daddy. Weird times. Sorry, Jane wasn't here, so I had to pull up for him. But hey, you know what? We're kind of rounding the circle here. We're right up about the 2-hour mark, and that's usually where we call it a night anyway. So that's the goal, anyways.
That could be the goal.
I think the other lines guys say it's the longest 60 minutes in podcasts because they usually go 90. Our goal is to go 120. We usually go like 180, sometimes more. But let's call it a night here. Of course, we'll be back on. Wait, Luthes, wrestling needs more cards and less shows. That's deep, bro. You should put that on a Hallmark card. I like it.
I thought we wanted events.
I think we want good wrestling.
That's asking for a lot.
James Bell said the Champion Series featured great wrestling, and we're having a wedding and opportunity to show off live. Really strong matches, and we get this crap. Exactly. That's okay. So James just capitalized on what I think what you were trying to say, DKM. It's what we've kind of been echoing the last few weeks here. We have an opportunity that now the NWA is back on YouTube, the no pay window. So everyone's welcome to come check it out. And the first time they're going to do a live the Tuesday night live POWERRR. And what are they doing? They're putting on some bullshit wedding, a bullshit contract signing, and some other things that we haven't cared about.
Mixed tag team match.
And look, I want to. If you're going to give me a live event, put Camilla in the ring against somebody they haven't put her in the ring against before. Somebody I haven't seen on TV, like a Rachel Ellering. I think she's out there and a free agent. Bring her in. That would get people talking. Holy shit, Rachel Ellering is coming. Wasn't Rachel Ellering in Impact a few months ago? Wasn't Rachel Ellering a member of the NXT at one point? That's the kind of stuff that would get people to tune in. A wedding, and it's going to be some sort of ham and egg or screw job. It's going to be a bunch of a schmoz. Somebody's face is probably going to go into a wedding cake. Probably May.
And here's the thing about that. If none of it happens and it's just a wedding, that's even worse.
Yeah.
I mean, the best thing that can happen is it becomes a schmoz.
Right.
Where we moan and groan and go, I can't believe they did that. But if we sit there, because we're all expecting something. So if we just sit there and it's like a wedding and they go off happily to get married or to their honeymoon or whatever, all of us are going to sit there and go, What the hell?
Yep.
And so, yeah, I mean, you have a live show, you have a chance to hook new fans. And look, and not that I have a problem with Camille and Tom Latimer being in a mixed tag match, but nobody wants to see Camille and Angelina Love. Nobody wants to see Tom Latimer and fake Davey Richards.
Yep.
I mean, there's nothing to build on off of it. Now, if they send Max the Impaler in to beat up everybody and set up a rematch between her and Camille, then or they and Camille, then that's one thing. But wouldn't it have been easier just to put Camille in a match that we want to see?
By the way, I'm driving
Yes.
along. By the way,
Yes,
I'm driving along yesterday, and my internet was super spotty as I was driving, listening to the other Alliance guys. And when Dave said that, should I object? This is all fake. I almost ran myself off the road laughing so hard. I popped super hard for that one. So yes, Scooby, object. If they ask it, say, hell yes, this is all fake. I'm with it. I'm for that. DKM, I kind of want to wrap tonight's show up. So what's your final thought for this week? And then we'll close it up.
Hammerstone, best champion in wrestling right now.
And again, you can see Hammerstone on February the 4th in Philly, taking on Jacob Fatu at the 2300 Arena. Tickets are on sale now. This is a World Heavyweight Championship match that I would like to see. I think, if you're not going to be there live, make sure you check out the pay-per-view or however you can watch it later, because it looks pretty good to me. DKM, if folks want to follow you on the social medias, how can they do that?
At DKMFWTX on any social media that I'm on. I will warn you, I will add anybody basically on Facebook, but don't annoy me.
Because you will be blocked.
You will. I've had a couple of people recently that's been sending me DMs to go, check out my site, check out check out. That's not how I use Facebook. You want to DM me on Twitter, that type of stuff, you probably can. I'll probably ignore it, but you can. But in Facebook, I mainly use that to keep in touch with friends and family. If you annoy me, I will block you in a heartbeat and never remember your name. So you've been warned.
All right. Well, then, how can they follow you on social media? You said Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
Yeah, I think Snap. I'm on Snap. I'm on
Snap is for the loose women.
Why do you think I'm on it? And TikTok.
Yeah. We're going to do a TikTok together next time I see you. Maybe at Jaden, the Dangerous Gentleman Wrestling Gladiators event. Maybe we get Jaden.
Now, when you say we're going to do a TikTok together, you better mean Tic-Tac. I don't do any of this. You will not find me on a video on TikTok. I occasionally will do the nows, even though I don't fully understand why. But I have no videos. Do not look for.
We're gonna change that in 2023. Hey, we're gonna have Mims on next week. I think we're gonna do it after. I don't know when a good time to do it is.
So what's his official name?
Strong Boy Mims.
Strong Boy. Not Big Strong, just Strong Boy Mims.
I don't know. I'll have to ask him. I'll ask him in the interview. So
tell him not to use boy. Big Strong Mims is better.
Big Strong Mims. We'll have Big Strong Mims here on the podcast next week. I'm just gonna lock down a date. We were supposed to have Tito, Bad Dude Tito, this week, and unfortunately, just some scheduling errors on my end. I did not have a good time for him. So hopefully we'll have him on sometime next week as well. Then, of course, we're looking to get Luke Hawks and lock him down very soon. I'm in early negotiations to have Poyle Damar come on for one of our live podcasts. So you're going to see some more content here coming soon. I do appreciate you guys being here. Of course, you can follow us at the Alliance Blog on really almost all social media. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on the TikTok. You will see me do dad jokes there. Also, we're looking to do we're on Hive as well. Tumblr, Hive. We'll talk about that offline. And yeah, so we're just trying to get out there and do more content. Of course, this Saturday I will be at Championship Wrestling from Hollywood's Red Carpet Rumble in Mesa, Arizona. So if you're following my accounts, make sure you're tuned in because you'll see some live videos, some pictures, and hopefully we'll have the results and all that stuff up on the website. And then if nothing else, we'll see you on Tuesday for the pre-party, Wednesday for the other guys, and Jaden and I and DK. Let me say that again. DKM Jaden and I will be back here next Thursday to do pretty much this again because there won't be another episode of Power. So we do appreciate you guys being here each and every week. You guys do make this show so much fun for us. And, that's going to do it. Until next time, we'll see you at the matches. Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social